Hey guys, today I wanted to kind of have a little chat with you guys. Recently, as part of a readathon, I ended up picking up Identical by Ellen Hopkins, and as you guys I'm sure are aware, she definitely writes books about more difficult topics and doesn't shy away from going into deeper and darker issues. After finishing this book, which was admittedly way more difficult to get through than I had originally anticipated, I of course went to go log my progress on Goodreads. Once I got there, I found that the book had significantly lower ratings than I had expected, so of course I was a little bit curious because I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I thought that Ellen Hopkins handled the topics that she chose to write about. This book does deal with a pair of twins that are identical in every way except one is being sexually abused. When I finally went to read through some of these reviews, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty shocked to see that the main reason for these lower review ratings, I'm talking like 3-star reviews, was because the readers were finding the content in the story too disturbing for their taste. And while I was reading those reviews, it made me think back to last year when I read Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. That one also deals with a very dark topic, that time being incest, and the reviews that I read for that book I remembered were of the same nature, where people didn't mind the story but found the content too disturbing to get through and therefore rated it lower. And I have to say, after remembering these two instances and thinking to other books that deal with difficult topics as well, I started to get angry. I started to get frustrated because it made me think, should we as readers be giving books lower ratings just because we're finding the content a little bit too difficult or too disturbing to get through for our own taste? Unfortunately, it seems to be these books that deal with incest or abuse, physical, sexual, otherwise, rape, mental illness, all of these books that deal with darker topics that no one really wants to talk about, that we kind of just want to push under the rug and not think about, are the ones with the lower ratings, unless of course the book happens to be nonfiction. In that case, the authors are often praised for coming forward with their stories. Now, I'm not saying that we should give every book that deals with a difficult or dark topic 5 stars just because it's talking about that topic, but I don't think that it's okay that we as readers who should be taking in this content critically are giving books a lower rating because the authors are brave enough and daring enough and bold enough to push the envelope and talk about the issues that no one seems to want to talk about. All of the reviews that I was seeing on Identical, for example, were along the same lines of, wow, this book was really disturbing for me to get through, and how could an author want to write about a topic like that? Unfortunately, although we obviously don't like to think about these kinds of incidences taking place, they do happen in the world and they deserve to be talked about, and it doesn't always have to be in a non-fiction way. I think that authors are really brave to write a fictionalized book about events that really do happen, as sad and as tragic and as heartbreaking and disturbing as that may be. It's real. And I think that more authors should write about these issues because all it's going to do is shed light on the darkness of these topics. And in my opinion, all it takes is for one person to read Identical, to read Forbidden, and decide that they don't want to see these kind of things happen to anyone else and want to make a change. As readers, I believe that we should read critically and critique the books as such, focusing on writing style, character development, and yes, plot, of course. But it made me uncomfortable to see so many readers throwing all of these out the window just to focus on the sole point that this book was too disturbing for them. That means they would rather push these topics further underneath the rug, not talk about them, and then bash a book, bash an author for going into these dark corners and pulling these topics out and saying, hey, this is happening. what are we gonna do about it? And considering the whole premise of the book Identical, shouldn't you feel a little disturbed while you're reading this content about this poor young girl that's getting her innocence ripped away? Doesn't that just make us normal? We shouldn't be giving it a lower rating just because a book made us feel something that we were uncomfortable in feeling. And that's all I really have to say on that one. So really, I do want to start a conversation with this. So I really want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that it's okay to give books lower ratings because of how it made you feel while reading it? Because it made you feel disturbed? Because it made you feel uncomfortable? Because it made you feel uneasy? Or should we be rating books on a higher scale? Should we be holding ourselves to a higher level to really rate these books and get to the root of what the author is trying to say and the message that she's trying to get across, and use our feelings and how it made us feel uncomfortable to spark a discussion within the community and fight for change? Either way, everyone's open to their own opinion. I'm not saying that if you give a book a lower rating because it made you feel uncomfortable that you're a terrible person. I'd like to know why you do that. So let me know what you think about this whole topic. If you read any other books that have made you feel uncomfortable and that you've seen get lower ratings because of the content of the book, let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to talk about this more with you guys. It made me feel really angry, and I knew that I wanted to do this discussion on this topic today because I feel like it's a really important topic. And of course, if you like this video, if you think it's important, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below to see more bookish videos like this. As always, I thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.